Take a look at the landmass of Uttar Pradesh. Covering nearly 2.4 lakh square kilometers, it accounts for over 7% of India's total geographical area. This schematic outlines the specific dimensions of the state. It spans exactly 650 kilometers from east to west and reaches 240 kilometers from north to south, locking into a precise grid between the 23rd and 31st northern latitudes. That footprint creates highly fragmented boundaries, sharing borders with 8 states, 1 union territory, and Nepal. Southward, Sonbhadra district uniquely touches 4 states: Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, and Bihar. Northwest, Saharanpur borders Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, and Haryana. A landmass of this scale, physically anchored to 9 domestic regions and a foreign nation, acts as the central structural bridge between the Himalayan north and the peninsular south. Because of its size, mapping Uttar Pradesh as a uniform, flat plain misses the underlying geology. The state is actually divided into 3 distinct latitudinal slices, from north to south. At the very top sits the Babar and Tarai strip. Here, the highly porous, coarse gravel forces fast-moving mountain streams to sink entirely underground. When that wider re-emerges 10 to 15 kilometers further south, it floods the surface, creating the wet, swampy plains known as the Tarai. That constant moisture supports a specific, dense ecology. It provides the exact conditions required for the tall marsh grasses that house the Dudhwa National Park. South of the swamps lies the central engine of the state, the Great Gangetic Plain, covering 90. Drop down into the river floodplains and you find Kadar, highly fertile, newer alluvium, replenished with every flood cycle. Finally, the southernmost 8. This climate heat map illustrates the strict rainfall gradient. Moisture decreases continuously as clouds move east to west and north to south. Gorakhpur in the northeast absorbs 185 centimeters annually, but by Mathura in the far west, it drops to barely 54 centimeters. The only significant exception happens in winter. Shallow cyclonic depressions originating over the Mediterranean pull small amounts of rain into the state. While minimal, these 1 to 3 centimeters are critical for the survival of winter rabi crops. Because the climate distributes heat and water so unevenly, entire regions of the state are constantly in a water deficit, relying entirely on the river networks to physically move water to dry land. To understand how water moves across this terrain, the drainage system is categorized by origin point: rivers born in the Himalayas, rivers born in the plains, and rivers from the peninsular plateau. The primary Himalayan engine is the Ganga. After entering at Bijnor, it cuts a 1,450-kilometer path through 28 districts. The density of urban architecture along the Varanasi Ghats shows how heavily human settlement relies on this constant glacier-fed flow. The Yamuna forms the state's western boundary, acting as a massive secondary artery before it finally merges with the Ganga at Prayagraj, creating a confluence zone physically large enough to host millions. Other Himalayan rivers like the Ghaghara and Rapti carry extremely high water volumes, historically causing devastating floods across the northern and eastern plains. Plain origin rivers behave differently. The Gomti River doesn't rely on melting glaciers. It emerges from Fulhar Jheel, a lake in the Pilibhit district, maintaining a calmer, slower flow through major urban centers like Lucknow. Down south, the peninsular rivers, the Chambal, Betwa, Ken, and Son, carve their way north through solid rock, generating the harsh, dry badlands. They navigate this ravine-laced terrain before finally merging into the main Yamuna and Ganga systems. The problem is that these natural river flows bypass the driest agricultural regions. Water had to be mechanically forced out of the riverbeds and into the fields. By artificially routing water, Uttar Pradesh has engineered the largest single irrigated area of any state in India. This chart breaks down exactly how that water gets to the crops. The dominant source isn't the surface rivers at all, it is groundwater. Tube wells account for up to 75% of the state's total irrigation, highly concentrated in the central and western zones. The second largest source relies on canal systems built to bleed water from main river channels. 2 networks dominate. The Eastern Yamuna Canal is the oldest, constructed during the Mughal era. The Sarda Canal system is the longest, branching over 20,000 kilometers through the plains. This highly engineered matrix of deep wells and sprawling canals effectively overrides the natural rainfall gradient, keeping dry soil wet and providing the constant water supply required for industrial-scale farming. By measuring this specific mix of topography, rainfall, and soil type, the Planning Commission officially divides Uttar Pradesh into 9 distinct agro-climatic zones. Each zone supports very specific outputs. The high rainfall and swampy soils of the Terai zone are ideal for moisture-intensive crops like paddy. In contrast, the Western Plain relies on heavy canal and tube well density to support highly mechanized wheat farming. Looking at this split screen, you see how heavily the environment dictates the economy. The Terai zone yields massive sugarcane harvests, but in the Bundelkhand zone, erratic rainfall and red clay soil mean farmers rely on drought-resistant pulses, gram, and mustard. Moving into the eastern and northeastern plains, the high susceptibility to flooding combined with dense populations forces a heavy reliance on high-yield food crops like paddy and maize. These 9 zones are the mathematical outcome of overlaying the state's hydrological engine onto its physical terrain. Farmers exploit these different zones across 3 distinct cropping seasons: the Kharif during the monsoon, the Rabi in the winter, and Zaid in the brief summer. This dashboard shows the economic result of that exploitation. Across all of India, Uttar Pradesh ranks number 1 in the total production of food grains, wheat, potato, and milk. It is also the top producer of sugarcane. The sheer volume harvested here, driven by the moisture-rich soils of the Terai and Western Plains, operates on a massive industrial scale. The state also holds the top national ranking for specific cash crops, including mango, guava, and mentha oil. Uttar Pradesh outputs more raw agricultural volume than any other state. That dominance is the direct, predictable result of its 3-tiered topography, its complex river network, and the massive irrigation matrix built to harness it.